Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to show you all how to uh, create a little animation, but we're going to utilize a few different things. I'm going to show you some parenting, um, some layers, groups, and we're also going to cover animating again. So this one's going to be a little bit different. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start by creating a cube. So I've got my cube here, and now I'm going to go ahead and switch to my side viewport, and I just toggle in between my viewports by tapping spacebar, and I'm going to hold D to adjust my pivot point, so you can see, hold D to adjust my pivot point here, and then I'm going to hold D and hold V to snap to vertex. Now I just want to show you something else. If I hold D and X, I can snap to grid. But for this I just want to snap to vertex, so I'm going to hold D and V and snap to vertex. So now that I've done that, I'm just going to drag it down to the bottom of my cube. And now I'm going to hold X to snap to grid. And I'm just going to go ahead and drag it up. And now I'm going to switch to my perspective view. And you're going to see my cube here at 0, 0, 0, the origin. And it's just going to look like it's sort of resting on my grid. So now that I've got that done, I want to show you a couple little neat tricks that are really helpful. So I know I've mentioned this in previous videos before, but I'm going to, I guess, just show you in a little bit more detail. So I'm going to show you also what's Shift D or duplicate with transform. It's a really awesome trick. So if I hold if I hold Shift and press D on this object, I'm going to have duplicated it. But what this does is I'm going to go ahead and bring this up to I don't know, let's say 1.5. Okay, let's say 2 actually. Oops. 2. 1.75. Okay, I'm just trying to keep it at like sort of easy numbers to work with. So once I have that taken care of, I'm going to go ahead and press Shift D again, but this time it's going to snap, or it's not going to snap, it's just going to shift it at 1.75 on the y-axis. Now it would do this for anything if I adjusted really the rotate or anything on here. So I'm going to tap Shift D one more time and one more time after that for a total of 5 cubes. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I did that all using Shift D or duplicate with transform. And you can actually find that here in Edit, Duplicate with Transform, and the keyboard shortcut is Shift D. So now that I've done that, I want to show you another way that this is actually extremely useful. If I hold Ctrl D, that's just duplicate. So that would be just Edit and Duplicate. By holding Ctrl D, I can just duplicate something, but let's just say I'm going to snap this on the grid to, I don't know, right here. I'd like to just show you where else this could be useful. So if I adjust my pivot point, I'm going to hold D and X this time, and I'm going to snap it to the origin on this for my pivot point. Now this is a really useful trick. So I really want to show you because this can be utilized in so many different things. So if I press Shift D, but this time I just go ahead and rotate it, and I'll rotate it, I don't know, -20 looks like a clean number. Now if I press Shift D, it's going to rotate at that axis all the way around. So I've got this really clean looking symmetrical shape here that I just duplicated around. So this is great for, I don't know, some type of columns or really whatever you can utilize it for. But it is such a great modeling trick to utilize when appropriate. So with that being said, I guess I'll keep these and I'll show you how to create a layer. I know I've shown this to you in other videos, so I'm just going to go ahead and select all of these. So this should not be new to you, but just in case, let's Let's go ahead and cover it officially. So now I've got all of these squares here, but I don't want to see them while I'm working. And because I'm going to be animating and I don't want to accidentally select them and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Layers and Create Layer from Selected. And I'm just going to call this Cube Circular Shape Layer. And then I'm just going to go ahead and click Save. So now I can toggle that on and off. So the next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and show you some parenting. So parenting is a really important concept in 3D modeling and animating, especially animating, because not only is this parenting trick used in Maya, it's also used in 2D software as well. So it's a really, really important thing to take note of. So the way it works is I'll just start showing you, and you can click on one. I'm going to start at the top, and then hold Shift and select the next one. Now the one highlighted in green is going to be the parent of the one selected that has the white highlight on it. So I'm going to tap P, and now when I click on this, it's going to look like it selects both of them, but they are still separate objects. Okay? Basically, when it's parented, it needs to copy all of the transform elements in this when we're animating. So if I animate from side to side or whatever, it has to follow it. Okay, so I'm going to do this all the way down, and I think it's Edit Parent, and then obviously you can check the little settings, but there's not too much in here we need to worry about. And I'm just going to leave it at by default. It should look something like this. But that's the way you could access it from the command menu up here by going to Edit and Parent. I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut, so I'm going to hold select one, hold Shift, select the next one, and I'm just doing this sequentially all the way down. And now you'll notice that they're all parented from the third cube I made here. So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to select this cube, and then I'm going to Shift select the next one and do P for parent, and then I'm going to select that, the one I had just parented, and then I'm going to parent it to the final one. So basically what this chain does is that this is the main parent where all of the rest of the cubes are its children. So I don't know if you've ever heard of this term before in animation, but that's what it is. So this is the parent where these are the children of this object. Same thing here, and this becomes the child of this parent, and this is just the child. So anyway, that's basically the terminology for this. Now that we have this sort of parented, we're going to start to animate it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to select the bottom cube, and we're going to do this in about, I'm going to guess about 72 frames, give or take. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to begin to animate all of these. So this would be a great point to sort of create a quick select all, but for this purpose I think I'll just animate it by hand, just like this, as a straightforward animation style. So the first thing I'll do is I'll just parent all of these, or I'm sorry, set keyframe on all of these, and I'm just going to bring myself up here really quickly so you can see the timeline, and I'm going to begin to make sure each one of these has its own individual set keyframe. Okay? So all of these have a keyframe on 1. So now I'm going to jump to frame 12, and I'm going to begin to simply rotate this. But on each one, I'm going to rotate it just a little bit more. And then set keyframe. Again, I'm going to do it. Oh, and last one, and I'm just rotating it like something like this. So you can actually get a pretty good view here in our front viewport. It actually kind of looks backwards, but if I was looking at it from this angle. But you can achieve some really cool animations with this. So you'll notice from here, and we get this sort of overlapping secondary action where it's actually swaying, right? And that's because I have the children doing it. Now, if I had just animated the bottom one, it would have just been a straight line, right? But because I animated all of these like this, it didn't. It gave it a lot more bend and action to it. It looks a lot cooler. So I'm going to continue pushing forward, and I'm going to jump to frame 24. And now I'm just going to go ahead and bring this, I don't know, about here, and set keyframe. And I'm going to do the same thing on each one. And really, 2D animation really comes into play in 3D. It has so much fundamentals that I could literally animate this in a two-dimensional orthographic viewport. So if I play this back, I've now got this swaying. So I'm going to jump onto frame 36, and now I'm going to begin to just make it, I don't know, less of a sway. And I can do this from, and actually each one I can make go a little bit less than the previous one. And now I can play it back. So I rotated each one a little bit less from the previous frame. Now I'll jump to frame 48 and just have it kind of go back the other way. And I'm going to try to go even less on this. And then frame 60. And I want you to go ahead and try and do this as best as you can. And 72. And I'm just going a little bit less and less. And I'm going to bring this out to actually frame 120. And now I'll go 72, 96. Oh wait, 72, 84. So I'm going every 12 frames. And 96. And 108. And frame 120. We're going to go ahead and set all these back to 0. And make sure you set a keyframe on each one. Okay, so now I'm going to play this back. And you see we get this swaying action. And it starts at a real harsh bending action, and then it sort of dies down a little bit. So if you thought of something being thrusted into this, you get this wavy action. It's a really uh, uh, important sort of 2D principle that translates extremely well into 3D. So it's a little wavy tail sort of thing, and it adds a lot of character to it, as if it were just going just at a straight angle from the base cube 1 here. If I just went it wouldn't be as exciting. But since I parented all of these in, now I can get this sort of bending, swaying action, and it really adds a lot of charm to the animation. So that's creating the animation. That covers parenting. We've covered duplicate with transform, and we've covered layers. So the next thing I want you to do is actually, just as a little practice, I want you to put each one of these on its own layer. So I'm going to go to Layer, Create Layer from Selected. This is going to be Cube 5 Layer. Save. This will be Cube Layer, Create Layer from Selected. Cube 4 Layer. And Layer, Create Layer from Selected. Cube 3 Layer. Layer, Create Layer from Selected. Double click on it. Cube 2 Layer. And the final one, Layer, Create Layer from Selected. Cube 1 Layer. Okay, and then click Save. So basically you should be able to hide each one of these individually. And then I've also got this one. So I also mentioned we were going to talk about groups. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to group all of these together as well. So the fast way to select all of these instead of shift selecting each one of these is just to right click on the layer and select objects. And now I want to show you a quick way to group things. So you'll notice in my outliner I have everything highlighted here. I can go ahead and drag myself back down. I have everything highlighted in my outliner just by right clicking on it and going to select objects on the layer. Now from here I'm going to press Ctrl G or Edit Group, Ctrl G, so Ctrl G, and now I've created a group. And I'm going to just call this Cube Circular Shape, GRP for group. It's sort of an extension I add to the end of it so I know what's what. So now that I've got that grouped in my outliner, it becomes much easier to navigate through, because in essence it's like I created this folder for it in my outliner, and now I can go ahead and pop this open and I can see all of the objects that are associated with this group, which is really awesome. Now in my cubes it also does something really similar where I create this little drop down, but on this one I have to click one each individually because it keeps the parented hierarchy all the way through, and you're kind of, in your outliner at least, creating this sort of subfolder each time, but all associated to the main cube. So other than that, I don't have too much else for you in this video. Go ahead and create the animation. Try and make it 120 frames long, each keyframe being at 12 frames apart. 120 frames is 5 seconds of animation at 24 frames per second. And then we also need to make sure you group objects. you can do this one. I'd like you to get practice with it, but you only really need like at least 2 objects to be grouped together. And then make sure you create all your layers over here. So, and make sure that these are all parented properly. Other than that, if you have any questions for me, be sure to shoot me a message. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.